Hey, what's up ladies and gentlemen? It is the one and only Sonic the Hedgehog here, and I am of course back for some more yet again for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Banjo-Kazooie for the Nintendo 64 / Xbox 360 or Xbox One or Xbox Series X from the likes of the Xbox Live Arcade version. So, yeah, last time we have managed to able to completely done with every single part of it though, in terms of Treasure Trove Cove. And overall, that's actually a pretty swell and nice little run in the process. So today for this episode is the fact that we are moving on to the next world in this game, which it appears to be by the forms of Clanker's Cavern. And if I recall correctly, this is going to be the only world, well, along with the forms of any other worlds in the future, that we have to deal with a lot of underwater swimming. Why? Well, we'll probably point it out whenever we're able to dive right into the forms of Clanker's Cavern. So because of this though, yeah, it's not much else to say. It's just literally, like I said before, you're gonna have to able to do a lot of underwater swimming for quite some time. Ah, dang it. Yeah, if you're able to actually get beaten by or bitten by that particular weird monster looking stuff when they manage to come out of the holes, basically it deals quite a number of damage onto you. So yeah, you just got to be very careful and be very cautious at the same time. So anyway, a few things I want to explain in terms of the forms of today's discussion. Recently I did manage to able to have some good news for you. Or to be more specifically, quite a few amounts of people out there were expecting to able to know what I'm going to be saying. Of course, I did manage to able to pick up more items, to be more specifically with the rest of the Kirby games, because after all, I'm a Kirby fanatic after all. And also I did manage to able to pick up quite a few items to my disposal, which I'll talk more about that whenever we're able to actually just mention about the forms of other stuff I like to discuss on first. Because if you couldn't tell already, after we go through this little hole tube right here, then we actually come across into ourselves Clanker, which appears to be some sort of like a metallic shark kind of thing about it. And basically he needs help because obviously someone managed to able to actually just to force him to go underwater. So we have to fix this. So how do we fix it? Well, we definitely need to go down to this hole over there. Well, not that hole over there where it has a blue X, but the one specifically it has chains on it, I should say. And basically we do need to swim right at the deep end if possible. But keep that in mind though, is the fact that much like in Super Mario 64, you do need to rely on the forms of the air meter. Because unlike in Donkey Kong 64, that it doesn't have an air meter, what? I'm guessing because apes managed to able to survive underwater, even though it does manage to dish that during the forms of Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. And also because of how the fact that they do manage to include the air meter from the likes of Tropical Freeze. Whilst the forms of Donkey Kong Country Returns, they did manage to able to become far lacking with underwater sections, which I have no idea why they managed to able to dish that, but either way though, it knows what it is, so. But thankfully, you can able to grab these air bubbles, you know, very similar to the Sonic the Hedgehog games, and basically it's the fact that every time you grab a bubble, then it actually able to, like, refuel your breathing meter. So because of that though, it really helps though, especially noticeable. There's also another game that utilizes like this, specifically in Conker's Bad Fur Day, aka, well, on the Xbox version, Conker Live and Reloaded, which is basically a remake of Conker's Bad Fur Day, with a much more cheaper price, as well as they did manage to censor a lot of stuff. To be more specifically with the language they did not include on the Xbox remake. And also with the enhanced graphics and all that stuff. So, well, actually there's quite a few languages or strong languages they actually removed from the Xbox original version, kind of thing about it. Although to be fair though, it is possible about the fact that it is still a mature game as it is. But regardless of anything else though, that's all I can honestly try to say about this for the most part, I'm afraid. So yeah, as you can see, we did manage to win for this little key. And if you try to do it like, let's just say about 3 times, it doesn't matter which specific keyhole you're about to be entering through, basically you would be able to actually just unlock the chains, and basically you're able to let Clanker or Clonker to able to actually just to get out of the surface almost, which after we're done with that, then you can now able to explore as much of stuff as you want to now. So yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory if you really want to get the down of it though. So obviously I forgot to mention to you guys about this, is that obviously today's day is of course the 20th of May today, in this case in 2021, and yeah, we're actually getting quite close towards the forms of the E3 2021 announcements and all that stuff, which I'm still excited for it, especially noticeable because, well, usually relatively speaking, it's just the fact the matter is though, is that, well, and also during around the same time actually, is the fact that Tiona might actually able to actually finish up with, well, Mario Party 4 at some point this weekend. So, expecting to be hype about the forms of how Mario Party 4 is going to end. So, either way though, because chances are that we're pretty much almost at the halfway point in terms of the Hudson Soft Mario Party Let's Plays flat front for Redo Let's Plays department. Because after all, that God knows until when the next new Mario Party game is about to come out for the Nintendo Switch. Speaking of such though, is the fact that they did manage to put up a lot of leaks and rumors out there. In terms of Nintendo 2021 E3 announcements for leaks or rumors out there, they obviously did mention quite a number of things. Like, first of all, they'll mention about the forms of a brand new Donkey Kong game, because after all, Donkey Kong is going to be 40 years old this year. So, expecting to be hyped, especially noticeable that how the fact that I honestly do really enjoy the Donkey Kong games. Well, to be more specifically with the platformer genres, like specifically the Donkey Kong original, you know, Donkey Kong Country, the original trilogy of games, both on the Super Nintendo version and the Game Boy Advance version, so I can play those on the go. And also to top it off, Donkey Kong Land trilogy as well on the Game Boy. Well, despite the forms of the lack of, well, let's just say by the forms of screen crunch and stuff like that, which is probably true for some frustrations in those 3 games for sure. But I honestly don't mind those games, but despite the forms of Donkey Kong Land 1 might be the weakest of the forms of the Land trilogy of games. And as a matter of fact though, we could possibly might able to try to tackle for the forms of the rest of the Donkey Kong Land trilogy of games at some point. Oh no! Oh, I missed the musical note! Ah, that's fine. I'll be back for it, so don't worry. Yeah, anyway, because of this though, I might actually try to go ahead and try to tackle through the Donkey Kong Land trilogy of games once we finish up with the rest of the Donkey Kong Country trilogy. Well, we're still in the process of the forms of, while we able to wait until August, and during at some point in August that we can able to do Donkey Kong Country 3 to able to conclude the Super Nintendo trilogy. And as far as I'm aware, that I was expecting if I was going to able to tackle through Donkey Kong Country Returns at some point, but not now though, just because, well, we're still in the middle of the forms of, well, in May at the moment, even though despite the fact that we only got about, I would say 12 days left until specifically when we get into the exciting month, which is of course June obviously, and I'm still pretty hyped, and yeah, you probably get the idea about that. Speaking of such though, I've heard from the fact that they're trying to able to actually update something like, actually I have no idea, because I know it has been a while since I actually mentioned about this, but either way though, it knows what it is, so either way though. And also, if you manage to able to use these blue eggs right on the forms of Clanker's golden teeth, apparently that's what it's usually represented with, basically it allows you to able to go inside Clanker himself. So because of this though, we can able to actually just to go through, oh gosh, we're going through rings, aren't we? But thankfully, it's only happens for just once, thankfully, whilst unlike the terrible Superman 64, they just managed to able to put up a lot of rings. Like seriously, who the hell they thought that was such a good idea? But I digress. So, yeah, that seems a little bit more logical aside from that, for able to actually just do, well, expecting to be hyped for, God knows, with the new Donkey Kong game is about to announce. Maybe something related to likely classic games or something, or I don't know, but we'll see what happens there. And the new Fire Emblem installment is almost near completion or something, even though the last Fire Emblem game that we've got is actually by the forms of, well, at least if you want to count the forms of the original game on a limited run, you know, eShop game, but unfortunately though, I don't have it, just because I wasn't really into the Fire Emblem series that much, mainly it's because it's not my cup of tea. But I know it's tactical, but it's not my cup of tea, so I do apologize if I'm sounding a little bit more enthusiastic about it. But still, everyone has his own opinions with their fans and all that stuff, which is true. But, you know, most of the time I'm not in a mood. But I digress. So, yeah, you probably get the idea about that. And, also they mentioned about the forms of maybe a new 3D Kirby game at long last, because we keep on having ourselves 2D, Kirby games in the past, like specifically Kirby's Adventure Wii, aka Kirby's Return to Dreamland, and also Kirby Triple Deluxe, and Kirby Planet Robobot, and also, well, just a whole bunch of 2D games, basically. So I think it's about time to able to now have a full-fledged 3D action-adventure platformer Kirby game, after all, or an RPG, if, depending on the forms of specific announcements they're able to bring us into. Well, again, we'll find out during at some point until next month, specifically on the 12th of June, so yeah, you probably get the idea about that solution. So, and also, they did mention about the forms of the new 2D Metroid game that has been rumored for quite some time now, since 2020, but nothing that we've gotten through in the forms of last year. Although, usually we already got Paper Mario the Origami King as far as what the actual game is actually announced and stuff like that. Actually, another thing I forgot to mention about this, ever since during the forms of, well, let's just say in the previous part or something, in the forms of Treasure Trove Cove World, and also that Maxi hasn't mentioned about this ever since in Donkey Kong 94, Let's Play of the game. Because apparently though, Paper Mario the Origami King has been announced for about a year ago now. Jesus Christ, why does time flies all of a sudden? But despite some skepticism with the forms of the actual combat and everything, or the battle system, and while the story is a little bit different, but it's still usually rescuing Princess Peach shenanigans all over again. But at least you were able to come across into a different villain for once. Well, at least ever since in Super Paper Mario for the forms of Count Bleak and all that stuff, and even Gemento and or Dimensiono and stuff like that. So, at least that's usually the case, rather than just becoming Bowser and Bowser and Bowser over and over and over again. But usually that's how it goes, basically, so... Oh yeah, talking of which, in terms of the forms of the next rumor they're gonna be bringing us into, is the forms of Super Mario Party 2. Well, despite that we already got ourselves the online support, the full-fledged online support in the original Super Mario Party now, but maybe it's because they're trying to test it out, the forms of how online stability were able to bring us into in terms of the original Super Mario Party. But yeah, God knows, until whenever we're able to do Mario Party 5 at some point next month, after, again, when Tiana finishes the rest of Mario Party 4, then basically, if we get into Mario Party 5, it will be a perfect opportunity until when the next Mario Party game will be announced at some point. But, again, we're not exactly sure just yet though, just because it's a bit early to predict right now, so yeah, I digress. Speaking of Kirby though, I actually did manage to pick up quite a number of things during the course of the past few days. First of all, let's get into the forms of the obscure Wii U pickup, which, yes, it has been a while since I actually did manage to pick up some Wii U games from time to time, ever since New Super Luigi U physical version of the game. Well, despite I haven't really tested it out for myself, mainly it's because I accidentally managed to re-download the digital version of New Super Luigi U DLC thing. Well, at least it's nice to have the forms of the physical version as far as to my collection, because I do really like the cover of the game. And, also, another thing is that, obviously, because I'm skipping over Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, because, you know, that game sucks terrible, and as a result, I just can't stand that game so much. But, instead, I managed able to pick myself the forms of Kirby and the Rainbow Paintbrush, aka, Kirby and the Rainbow Curse. Now, you guys are probably thinking to yourselves that, is that game okay to you? Well, I might give it a chance, because otherwise, in addition to that, I also managed to able to download, other two Kirby games from the likes of the DS Virtual Console re-release on the Wii U. Such as, for instance, speaking of the Paintbrush, I did manage to download it, the, Kirby Power Paintbrush, aka, Kirby Canvas Curse in the North America release. So at least I thankfully managed to able to actually just to download that. Because, I don't know, I might try to do a Let's Play of these games, mainly with like Kirby Power Paintbrush and Kirby and the Rainbow Paintbrush at some point in the future. But just make things a little bit more clarity for the sake of time. But usually we're gonna have to still focusing on Kirby-style allies at some point until next year or something. But if not, then let me know in the comments below. So because of this though, well, despite most people seem to found this to be, well, aren't too pleased with the forms of the actual gameplay style from, excuse me, because of the forms of the gameplay style of, you know, Kirby and a Kirby Power Paintbrush, along with the Rainbow Paintbrush, the gameplay styles between these two games are drastically different compared to the traditional 2D platformer. But either way though, it knows what it is. So, and also I did manage to download it, the forms of Kirby Mass Attack. So because of this though, just feel like just trying to able to include that as well. Although originally, I did manage to able to download those two games, mainly with like Kirby Power Paintbrush, along with Kirby Mass Attack on the emulator, and unfortunately it doesn't work out. Well, at least if I was trying to do my practice run, if I was decided to do a Let's Play of these two games basically in the future, or certain Kirby spin-offs out there like Kirby's Dream Course, and also, I'm probably not going to tackle through Kirby Air Rides though, mainly because it does require a lot of unlockables, and also, I probably won't going to be tackled through Kirby's Ghost Trap either, just because, well, it's like Puyo Puyo, and at the same time Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, but except the fact that it's in Kirby Makeover, which I have no idea why that game has never saw the light of day in Japan though, which I absolutely have no idea why. They just managed to able to actually just to skip the Japanese release of Kirby's Avalanche and stuff like that, but it knows what it is, so. Oh, by the way, in this world, that we're now going to be able to actually just to, well, use the coolest move, which appears to be you can now able to use gold feathers. And what these gold feathers are used for? Well, you can able to actually just to become invincible. Like as you can see on this section right there, you can't do it normally because you will die a lot. But if you're trying to use the gold feathers, like I was gonna crouch and then just tilt my right thumbstick onto the right direction, and basically that allows me to become invincible. Whilst compared to the N64 version, I think it's a C button right, even though it has been a really long time since I actually played the N64 version of this game. But forgive me if I botched it. So because of this though, yeah, it's a pretty useful move throughout the game, because otherwise if you find yourselves a bit traumatizing or just difficult in general, then that was the actual ability for you. So, yeah, that's that. And it looks like that we've almost done with Clanker's Cavern. Although, usually as far as I'm aware, that most of these worlds might go by far a bit longer at this point. But to be expected with most exploration kind of worlds to be like this, which I don't mind this at all, because even then though, it does give us a lot of replayability if you're trying to able to look hard enough for specific parts throughout the game. So yeah, I digress. And another game I did manage to download on the Wii U eShop is the forms of the Warrior Master of Disguise. And remember when whenever I mentioned it before, that we might possibly try to deal with the forms of Warrior Master of Disguise in the future? Well, we've now finally got it on the Wii U eShop version, so that way we can now able to do that game. Well, specifically, if we do with Warrior Land 4 first, and then Warrior Master of Disguise afterwards, and possibly Warrior Land The Shake Dimension after we're done with Master of Disguise or something. So here's the next boss fight right here, which appears to be by the forms of Snippets Mutants, which can be easily being taken down with the Gold Feather Invincibility. So at least I'm glad I did manage to use that. So anyways, let's go ahead and grab the last few musical notes, and that way we'll get exactly 100. And of course, we're able to obtain the last Jiggy in Clanker's Cavern, and we should be good to go. So, awesome stuff. Oh yeah, and also another thing as well is the fact that I did manage to able to pick up Kirby's Dream Land 1 as in physical copy version of the game on the Game Boy. So, at least I'm glad to have that at least. So, and also another thing is the fact that I did manage to get myself my Game Boy Advance cable link from the Nintendo GameCube and stuff like that, because obviously I might try to able to actually go into Mario Golf Advance Tour if I play that game on my own time and just trying to unlock the rest of the other 4 characters like Luigi, Wario, Waluigi, and Bowser essentially. So God knows, it might able to take me quite a long time to able to unlock them. So yeah, best of luck for me. So and finally I did manage to able to purchase a brand new canvas with the forms of the Legend of Zelda poster, which it might be something almost related to the forms of 35th anniversary of the Zelda series. Well, despite the fact that it did came out in 2019, which is the same year as when Link's Awakening remake for the Nintendo Switch has been released. So yeah, that's sure it's something, alright? So I guess that's pretty much as far as I can tell when it comes to announcements and discussions alike. Well, at least as far as I'm guessing for as such. So now I do apologize if my commentary gets a bit slightly iffy today, but nowhere near as like tad bit more iffy than the forms of how it does it on the past though. But either way though, that's pretty much about it in terms of Clanker's Cavern. And now we just need to able to go up here. But first, before we do anything, we need to take care of this enemy first, and also talk to this Brentley, the nice sister, when it comes to Gruntilda and stuff like that. So, and ask her some questions about the forms of specifically Gruntilda's secrets. So, again, it's super recommendable if you're trying to do this, because if you don't, well, you'll find out soon enough. So, either way though, oh, Reaper? Jeez, what is this, like, Grim Reaper or something? Well, at least it doesn't say Grim Reaper or something like that, but I digress. So yeah, let's just go ahead and... Oh no! Ah, darn it, I wasn't paying attention. Whoops. But that's okay, because we're not exactly far from it though, so at least we can able to try again, so... And because the reason why we need to head up there is because, well, we do need to activate that little particular caged switch. So because of this though, we can able to continue our progressioning for the sake of time. So hopefully we should see what the next world are we going to be proceeding until specifically next Tuesday, and especially noticeable with next Thursday depending if we got enough time. Well, usually as far as I like to able to do 1 world per video, so just because, well, I just feel like trying to do that. So anyway, so let's see what the next world we are going to be unlocking, and that will have to be Bubblegum Swamp. So it appears to be some sort of like a swamp-esque world, so it should be interesting, especially noticeable that it had like, well, as far as I'm aware, that the actual worlds might get a lot longer until eventually in the future. So but again, I don't mind length and all that stuff, so But I digress. Strangely enough, they didn't mention about the forms of the rumors about Mario Kart 9, but either way though, again, we'll talk more about that until whenever we get on to next month, eventually, so... Anyway, so that's that out of the way, and now let's go ahead and, well, continue our progressioning for the sake of this whole journey. But, before we get into that, I need to briefly go in here, mainly because, obviously, well, aside from taking down this enemy here, but also, we need to activate this magic cauldron, which, that'll be used for later. So, either way, though, we'll, go around here and obtain the Mumbo token as well. So, I think that should be pretty pleasant and all that stuff. We're able to actually get the ridiculous amount of those Mumbo tokens. Oh yeah, we actually forgot to mention about the forms of this Gruntilda switch, and that is trying to able to ground pound these little eyes sticking out, or these pimple eyes, and when you do that, then you get a Jiggy itself. So, pretty easy, self-explanatory, and you should probably deal with it no problem. So, yeah, that's that, and we actually got 4 Jiggies in the forms of Gruntilda Slayer so far. So, yeah, it looks like we actually getting pretty swell. If I like to say so for myself, you know. So, anyways, let's go and continue our progressioning. And, ooh, jeez, it looks like we got ourselves a ginormous Gruntilda statue. But, we can't do anything in there in the moment, just because, well, we are proceeding to the next world, which is, of course, Bubblegulp Swamp. So, yeah, that might be seems a little bit more obvious for the sake of time. So, yeah, anyway, let's just go ahead and double check on certain areas, like, actually, I might as well save that area until, specifically until the next video, because, obviously, we just need to focusing on this world in general, though. So, yeah, I guess suffice to say is the fact that we'll go ahead and end things off at this point right here. So, yeah, join me next time for Let's Play Banjo-Kazooie for the Nintendo 64/Xbox Live Arcade. Is the fact that we are going to be moving on to the next world in this game, which appears to be Bubblegulp Swamp. So, yeah, I'll see you guys until next Tuesday. Later, fellas. See you guys then.